I do remember right before I ejected, I had this queasy feeling of I'm not going to be back in my nice little stateroom when aboard the Intrepid that night. The only person I saw when I hit the ground, there was a kid there, probably 12, 13 years old, and he was hollering at me had his hands up, indicating, I guess, for me to put up my hands. The Vietnamese came and they found me. They had to search for a few minutes, but they found me pretty quickly. They were excited and upset, I guess, and they were pretty gentle, I guess, on me compared to what I guess what other people, what we might have been if what I might have been if the situation had been reversed. The other Navy guy and I got put in solitary confinement for several months, and this wasn't just living by ourselves. This was in isolation, and I found that to be the hardest thing I did in Vietnam. It's having nobody to talk to for 6 months. It was it was very difficult. I think I was going crazy towards the end there. I was seeing things moving on my walls, and of course there were a lot of things moving on my walls, but I mean things that shouldn't be moving. They started allowing a few Red Cross packages to come through, and from our families. And a few families were very innovative. One wife, had taken off the label of a peanut butter jar and written a bunch of news on the back, and then re-glued it to the peanut butter jar. And as the guy ate his peanut butter and everybody else ate it, they started seeing the news. And then we also, occasionally you get a new shoot down guy. That's where we learned about people were wearing bracelets, and that was a big morale booster, that we were not, hadn't been forgotten. My wife and son met me on the airplane. My little boy was 10 months old when I left, and now he was 7 years old. That was a big difference, and it was traumatic. It was of course I had talked to my wife from Clark Air Force Base, but so I knew that she was there, which was not always the case in some situations. But I knew she was there, and I knew she was waiting. We pretty much took right up where we left off. She was obviously more mature and more independent than she had been, but she was ready to let me take back over the reins, I guess, as the lawnmower and stuff like that. Some guys came, they'd gotten this thing in their mind, how they're going to lead their lives in Vietnam. They came back and started trying to do that, and their wives weren't in on this decision making, and so they had some problems. I have good friends that happened to, and it took them a while, a year or two, before they work out their problem. But most of them did.